Becoming a Whirlwind Plus member just got even better. A new perk is Tuesday is guest day. Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass has Whirlwind Plus. It's only $299 for the year. And now, every Tuesday until June 1st, Whirlwind Plus allows you to bring a guest and both of you receive the Whirlwind Plus membership discount. Go to whirlwindgolf.com, click on Whirlwind Plus, and feel the wind.
Thanks for listening, Unplugged Army. I'm Louis Unga, General Manager at Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. We're proud to present Doug Franz Unplugged.
Form an offense.
Form an offense.
4 minutes.
Form an offense. Form an offense.
Everything you need to know in sports that affects Maricopa County, the state of Arizona, and the world, you get in 4 minutes. We start things off in downtown Indianapolis. Cardinals will lose their 31-27 to drop to 2-4 on the season. However, Jacoby Brissett looked really good. 27-44, 320 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 1 pick that wasn't his fault. Head coach, Jonathan Gannon.
I thought we did some good things today, but ultimately not enough to win the game. Proud of them, how they battled. You know, a lot of guys in and out of the lineup there. A lot of guys stepped up and made some plays. So disappointing, but we got to do more to get back in the win column.
Coach Kyler's never thrown for over 220 yards this year. Brissett just threw for 320 yards. What's the status of Kyler Murray?
He's a starting quarterback.
Oh, up next, Cardinals return home. They take on the Packers Sunday afternoon in Glendale. Suns played twice in China against the Nets. One game won, 132-127 in overtime. Booker had 18 points, 5 assists, 5 steals in that one, then played 26 minutes and had another 18 points in game 2, in which the Suns got 30 points off of turnovers, but didn't shoot as well and lost to Brooklyn 111-109. While in China, a member of the Hong Kong media asked Dylan Brooks, what does he think of adjusting to Phoenix?
It's been easy. My first call when I got traded was to Book, trying to get acquainted. He's been like a big brother to me, taking me under his wing. We're always talking every single day. You know, being able to play beside him and not be able to guard him is better for me. You know, getting acquainted with Phoenix is easy. Love the city, love the fans, and I can't wait for this season.
Up next, they landed this morning, yet they turn around and play the Lakers tomorrow night, downtown, 7 o'clock. ASU got worked by Utah 42-10. Quarterback Devin Dampier, 7 of 12, 104 yards passing, but 120 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Head coach, Kenny Dillingham.
First half, we shortened the game, which was kind of our plan going into it. Offense had 3 real drives. They had 4 real drives, which is good when you play a game like that, but we couldn't finish in the red zone again, which was catastrophic, and then they did.
Rankings came out yesterday. Texas Tech moved up to number 7, and that's who's next for the Sun Devils. Kickoff against the Red Raiders in Tempe, Saturday, 1 o'clock. UofA was up by 10 over number 18 BYU in the fourth quarter and blew it. Lost in double overtime, 33-27. Noah Fafita went 25 of 45 for 219 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Head coach Brent Brennan.
Obviously, it's incredibly disappointing. We're down 14 points, make some plays, we rally back, we come out of the weather delay and really dig in. And I thought our team did a great job of answering the call, in that moment. The hard part is that at the end of the game, we had a chance to end it offensively and we had a chance to end it defensively, and neither side of the ball did.
Up next, a brutal start time. Arizona's on the road at 5-1 Houston Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. The Rising had an enormous win, beating North Carolina 2-0 to move into 6th place in the standings. Huge game Saturday. Rising at home against 5th place San Antonio. Kickoff Saturday night, 7 o'clock. Mariners beat Detroit on Friday in a 15-inning classic elimination game, then turned around and beat Toronto in Game 1 of the ALCS. Game 2 of the ALCS today at 2. Brewers, same thing. They beat the Cubs in an elimination game, then they turn around and take on the Dodgers. That'll be Game 1 in Milwaukee. First pitch at 5 o'clock. And huge news out of Happy Valley, which certainly didn't seem so. James Franklin has been fired by Penn State. They owe him the $50 million buyout, and they're already committed to a $700 million renovation of the stadium. And finally, a food company called Giant is recalling all of their ready-made taco kits because they accidentally included a packet of hot chocolate. Now, you may not find this as funny as I do, but I just have so many questions. They're removing and recalling because of the fact someone might have a milk allergen and have never associated having hot chocolate with a taco. So they don't anticipate being allergic to something that's in the box. Okay, I get why they're recalling it, but I have to ask, number one, how did they ever think that made sense to do tacos and hot chocolate? Number two, if it was an accident, how did it keep happening? Like, how does something like that go? What kind of robot or AI system thought that was a good idea? And then number three, is there anything that sounds more disgusting than trying to mix hot chocolate with tacos? A food processing plant, I admit, is something that I don't understand, but that one takes the cake. No pun intended.
With the holidays coming up, another great thing about Bell's is we have a great catering package. You can rent out half of the space. You can rent out the entire space. A really cool thing is we don't have a set price tag. It kind of depends on your group, how many people you're bringing in, what kind of food you're looking for. We can cater any group to you, any price tag, any menu pretty much that you want that's within our realm, catering to what you're looking for in your specific event.
Bell's Nashville Kitchen on Main Street in Old Town Scottsdale.
You found home, down home.
You know, gosh, there's 9 million different ways today's show can go. And I am really interested to see the way the Twitter world is going to react with everything that just happened to all of us this weekend from a football standpoint. Oh my, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever it is that you've decided to make Doug Franz Unplugged a part of your day, my family greatly appreciates it. My name is Doug Franz, and you have found the only podcast in the world totally devoted to the coverage of the 4 major sports franchises of one great American city that drops on your phone each and every weekday morning. We also cover ASU, UofA, GCU, the Rattlers, the Rising, and the Merc. This is Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. How are you? I'm doing really well. I'm really tired. I struggle with the body clock of, just be normal. What is normal? And I kind of fall into the normal routine of sleep for Friday night, Saturday night, and then all of a sudden Sunday night trying to stay up all night again. So I'm in a little bit of a weird haze. I've had way too much Mountain Dew tonight to try to stay awake, but then I got to hurry up and get back to bed so I can get over to the Kenny Dillingham press conference, which is coming up at noon today. Man, is there going to be interesting questions there. How does your quarterback go from healthy and probable on Wednesday to late Thursday? He's terrible and doubtful, and then boom, he's in a boot. And is he really going to be ready for Texas Tech, who's a top 10 team in the country? Then Ben Coleman's injury, the center moved to guard, and that injury looks bad to me. I'm worried about bad news coming from him. UofA, you got a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and you blow it. And then the crazy stat for the Cardinals, 5 of 6 games this year, they've had a fourth quarter lead. And they're 2-4. And the one game they did not have a fourth quarter lead, they tied the game with a field goal and kicked off with 28 seconds remaining in the game just to lose it. So, man, there's a lot of beef to talk about with this quarterback situation, but it's time to turn the heat up on the defense too. What are you guys doing? Now, please keep in mind, when your offense has the lead and goes 3 and out, they're just as much at fault. But it seems like because so many people are frustrated with the offense that the defense is getting a pass for the Cardinals. There's a lot of issues in this city, right? We just came off the disappointment of everything Diamondbacks into the Cardinals falling on their face, into this this ASU game yesterday, 2 days ago. See, I am kind of fading mentally already. This show's 3 minutes old, and I where am I? And And U of A fan, I think you've got to be kind of happy because there's no way you expected to have a team that's fighting like this. But still, you got to knock somebody off when you're up by 10 in the fourth quarter. And then the weird decision-making at the end of the regulation portion of the game, I don't understand. I'll just go into that right now because I don't have time for, you know what? No, I can do that later. Let's talk U of A after Howard Balzer. Yeah, we have Howard Balzer on today from Cards Wire, so I'm excited to talk to him as our post-game reaction to the Cardinals' loss and the situation at quarterback. So we've got all that going on. Friday night, evil arch rival Zach came over, and I beat him in darts, so that was great. Victorious for me. I have not played darts against the mouthy nephew yet, though. The nephew has moved in, and I do need to bring him down. I need to bring him to his knees. Between you and I, he's better at darts than I am. There's no reason for him to know that I know that. Doesn't mean I can't win. I just know he's better. And when I played evil arch rival Zach, I played terrible. I'm good enough to beat him, but I mean, I couldn't beat like somebody of true dart competition. So I'm I got to get better. I got to get better quick without getting caught practicing. I'm too busy to practice. I still have about 20 major league playoff games that I still want to watch on the DVR that I haven't had time for. I don't have time to practice darts, but man, I gotta beat the mouthy nephew. And thank you if you helped me out by praying or if you've been thinking about me. Do you remember the friend I told you about that I went to lunch with last week? That friend went to church Saturday night. For those of you that don't know, when you're Catholic, you fit Jesus into your own time. So we have masses on a Saturday night, we have masses on a Sunday morning, and then we have masses in the early part of the afternoon, and then we have a Sunday night mass. No, we don't go to all those. You choose one. So I was thrilled when I found out that my friend went to mass. I just thought that was, you just feel really good. And then I got a text that said it was beautiful and thanking me for the encouragement for my friend to go. That was very rewarding. Very, very rewarding. Okay, we got a lot to get to today. Not just the Howard Balzer, but of course, really just Cardinals, ASU, and U of A. So let's get to my number one opinion of the day. It's called Doug's Big One. I kind of said that backwards. Let's roll.
Doug.
Where's Doug? Sorry, Doug. Where you at?
Yeah, was that a plug to unplug right there? That was smooth.
Well, I can only answer the questions that get asked of me, Doug.
Obviously, Franz is such a good player.
Doug's Big One. No. The Cardinals should not start Jacoby Brissett going forward unless it's injury related to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray should still be the starting quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. And that is Doug's big one. The dead air was real because I was wondering if you were yelling, if you were throwing things at me. How did you? You never saw that coming, did you? I have a crazy reason why. I have a reason why that you're going to just strongly disagree with, I think. My reasoning for staying with Kyler is because I don't think this is a playoff team. I didn't think it was a playoff team at the beginning of the year, and I don't think it's a playoff team now. And if it's not a playoff team, then I think you have to have be 100% sure, and I mean as an entire organization, that Kyler Murray is not the guy. And so if you are ready to say he's not the quarterback for 2026, then you might as well just stay with Jacoby Brissett. If you think this is a playoff team, I'm actually with you. Go to Jacoby Brissett. Name Jacoby Brissett the starter right now and be done with it. If you think this is a playoff team, because you've got to have the quarterback that gives you the best chance to win right now. But I don't think it's a playoff team. So I want to go back to Kyler Murray because, and listen, I don't think either way, none of our opinions matter for Green Bay. I don't think Kyler's going to be healthy for Green Bay. Kyler's not playing Green Bay. Bye week. And then the Cardinals actually get an extra day before they take on the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. And I think Kyler would start that game. I bet his foot will be healed when you're dealing with about 4 weeks of rest. Well, when you look at it through that prism, I want to see how Kyler reacts to the fact that this offense was run correctly and you end up in a scenario where there's 320 yards passing. Kyler Murray's, not career high, but season high is 220. Twice he's thrown for 220 yards. Jacoby Brissett just threw for 320 yards. 320 yards. So he had one outing on the road against a good defense and threw for 100 more yards than Kyler did in any one of his starts to start this season. Now, how does that happen? I did a shindig on 12 News last night, and I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. I just pulled one series of downs, really 2 series of downs, is all I pulled from the opening touchdown drive led by Jacoby Brissett. That was it. And I wanted to show what it means to run the offense correctly. Take what the defense gives you. And I showed a 3rd and 5 in which Brissett ducked under the pass rush but kept his eyes downfield, got rid of the ball to a check down, and got a first down. Kyler would normally take a sack because he's looking around everywhere because he wants the home run ball. Or he would take off running and he'd get hit. Then it's 1st and 10. It's a pretty boring looking play, but Jacoby Brissett rolls out, can't find anybody open, and at the last second throws it out of bounds. I believe Kyler Murray would have been sacked on that play because I've seen it 4, 5, 6, 7 times this year. I don't even remember how many. Where he's running out of bounds, and instead of throwing it out of bounds, he steps out of bounds. Why is that a big deal? Well, that means if it's Kyler Murray at quarterback, it's 2nd and 14 or 2nd and 15. With Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, it's 2nd and 10. The next play was a nice 9-yard run from Michael Carter. I guarantee you, Drew Petzing is not calling I can't guarantee you after the bad running plays that he called last week at the end of the game. But for the most part, you're not calling a running play 2nd and 15. So because Kyler Murray steps out of bounds for a 5-yard loss, you've limited a portion of the playbook on 2nd and 15. You need kind of chunk yards to give yourself a better 3rd down opportunity. 2nd and 10, well, you're more than happy to run. You're expecting them to think you're going to pass. You should be able to get 4 to 5 yards. 3rd and 5 is pretty manageable. You're okay. Boom. Instead, Carter gets you 9. Now, yeah, that part's luck. I don't have any idea that it's going to be 3rd and 1 when I call it a run. But I don't even try that run on 2nd and 14. So now it's 3rd and 1. What do we do that's different than Kyler? Jeff Sims runs a quarterback sneak. Fantastic. Got it easy. Got the first down easy. And that first down led to an eventual touchdown. But that was 2 first downs in one drive that led to a touchdown, which I completely, and I will stand on the table when I say this and tell you Kyler doesn't get those. Kyler doesn't get those 2 first downs. Now, you might be losing your mind saying, wait, Doug's big one is you're going back to Kyler, and while you're telling me that Kyler doesn't get the job done. Yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. Because don't you think Kyler has just lost every excuse? I mean, think about the people close to Kyler's life. They're telling him it's the fault of Cliff Kingsbury. It's Steve Keim's fault. It's Michael Bidwill's fault. It's Larry Fitzgerald's fault for retiring. It's the O-line's fault. It's the tough luck injury to James Conner's fault. Everybody's probably telling him it's all these other things, or that's what he thinks. It's all these other things. This is the first time in his entire life that he's ever failed without an excuse. I mean, think about it. The guy never lost in high school. He lost 3 times at Texas A&M. And he's a top 10 pick in Major League Baseball and probably would have been the first overall pick if it wasn't for football. He should have stayed with baseball because baseball's a game that rewards the individual. You don't have to be a leader in baseball as long as you focus on leading yourself. As long as you're a professional, as long as you work hard, no one really cares if you keep to yourself. I won't tell you who it was because I think that's unfair because we had beer on the table, and I've always told people there's a rule when there's beer on the table, everything's off the record. But Justin Upton always drove me crazy because you'd come into the clubhouse and the team would have won by 6, and there's Orlando Hudson needing to console Justin Upton because Upton went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and he's banging bats in the clubhouse and all mad. And I'm always thinking, man, you won. You won. Your team won. Could you not be happy that your team won? And then on days when the team lost, if he did have a good offensive game, he wasn't rubbing it in anybody's face, but you could tell he was happy. He's not banging anything around when they lose. He's only banging things around when he doesn't do well. So I never respected Justin Upton, the player. I don't really know Justin Upton, the person, but I never really respected the player that much because I'm not that style. I'm more of a person that I love the guy that's got blood under his nails and is going to do whatever it takes to win because he loves the game and he feels an incredible sense of gratitude for the job. That's what I like. And this one teammate told me I was dead wrong. Said he has absolutely no problem. Not teammate of mine, teammate of Justin's. He has absolutely no problem with how J-Up acts. None whatsoever. Because he says, how do we win? The best way for us to win is for him to pull his weight. And he's mad when he doesn't. Okay. I don't need you to be a rah-rah for us to win. I just need you to do your job. And he's upset he didn't do his job. And when he does do his job, he's happy that he did his job. And he's going home. He's not here to be the rah-rah guy. I still don't like it, but man, I kind of understood it. That's the sport of baseball. Doesn't it seem like I'm describing Kyler somewhat? But what if he changes? What if now that you put him in a situation where he has seen somebody running the Drew Petzing offense successfully, navigating his team on one start to 27 points, 320 yards, and dare I say, I'll go as far as saying 34 points, because I think that ref should have ruled differently on the non-pass interference call early in the game. You had an interception thrown by Daniel Jones. Cardinals get the ball back, and on their very first pass play after the Colts interception, Jacoby Brissett throws an interception. If you didn't see the play, oh gosh, who was it? I think it was Zay Jones. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember. Was running a post pattern, cut inside for their post, and right when they did that, another defender was running to the outside receiver to cover them on a stop route. So whoever was on the outside, I think it was Tripp's right, meaning three receivers on the right. I might be wrong, and there was just a 2x2 set. But the outside receiver ran a 5-yard up and stopped. And I think it was Zay Flowers who ran a 5-yard up and then a post. And as soon as he gets ready to break inside, a post is simply you're literally running to the crossbar of the uprights. As soon as he breaks it off, he runs right into the guy who's trying to get to the outside. And because of that contact, Jacoby Brissett threw it on rhythm and timing, threw it where the receiver's supposed to be, and the receiver wasn't there. Boom, interception. Technically, the way the rule is enforced, each player is entitled to their spot on the field. It's almost like taking a charge. I can take a charge on you. If I'm standing there and you run me over, it's not pass interference. But I do think it's pass interference when the ball's in the air, the defender was not attacking the ball, did not know the ball was coming, and ran into the receiver. I think that's illegal contact, and or if the ball truly was in the air, pass interference. I think they should have called illegal contact because you still contacted a receiver, I believe, 5 yards down the field. And I don't like that interpretation of the rule because I get it. Those referees are trained. If it's incidental contact where people's feet get tangled up, that's not pass interference. Well, it wasn't really a foot tangle as much as it was a collision. Soft collision. I mean, it was kind of glancing, but still, he got hit. The receiver was hit by a defender on his route. I think that should have been called a penalty. So Jacoby would have done even better than Kyler. So how does that make Kyler feel? What does Kyler do about it? Can Kyler actually still talk about excuses? Can he still make it look like it's other people's fault? Or will this be the realization that I need to get involved? Maybe it's too little too late, but I want to see it. That's why I'm sticking with Kyler for the Dallas game. I want to see it. I want to see how he handles it. If you think this is a playoff team, I'm dead wrong. I want to admit it to you. I'm dead wrong then. But in order for this to be a playoff team, think about this. Would you agree you got to get to 10 wins to go to the playoffs? You got to get to 10-7. Maybe you totally disagree. I think to go to the playoffs, you got to get to 10-7. Do you realize in order to get to 10-7, the Arizona Cardinals have to go 8-3? Yeah. I mean, as soon as I said that, which one of you raised their hand and said, yep, sure, the Cardinals can go 8-3? I mean, I realize we live in a bizarro world that the best team in the NFC is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, just let that wash over you right now. The best team is Tampa Bay. The worst division winner is Philadelphia. And right now, the entire NFC West has made the playoffs. Yeah, that's weird. All three teams except the Cardinals are in. So I think it looks good that 10 wins gets you in. The Cardinals are 2-4. They got to go 8-3. Since I think they can't go 8-3, they're not good enough to go 8-3. I don't feel like I'm losing games by figuring out what do we have in Kyler. You know, I'm the same guy that's yelling and screaming about Randall Grichuk and I think of Jennifer immediately. Geraldo Perdomo getting thrown out at third when the ball was hit to their right side. And I'm yelling and screaming, these little nuanced things are why you're not going to the playoffs. And then here I am saying, no, let's relax. Let's see what Kyler can do. But I don't think you're going to get enough from Jacoby Brissett that's suddenly going to save the team and lead them to an 8-3 record and the playoffs. So therefore, I think it behooves you to learn more about Kyler right now and to see what happens than it does going to Jacoby Brissett. If you disagree, obviously that's what Town Hall Tuesday is for. But then you think that this is a playoff team. You think the talent is there despite the injuries. Irrelevant of what's going on in the defensive secondary, the running back room, you think it's a playoff team. Well, then you've got to go to Jacoby Brissett immediately. Then you do, because then it's about who gives this team the best chance to win. And to me, there's no doubt about it right now, it's Jacoby Brissett. I'm admitting that to you. But I almost feel like this team's beyond winning. They're just not good enough yet. There's still some issues there. Now, the last thing that's going to be on everybody's mind before I go to Howard Balzer, let me explain this. The world is going nuts, if you didn't see the game yesterday, on Trey McBride, on the non-call for Trey McBride. Last offensive play of the game for the Cardinals, Trey McBride is running an out, runs up the field, plants the right leg, cuts out. And I think he's NFL open. He's not college open, but he's NFL open. Put the ball in the right spot. He should be able to catch it, get you a touchdown. And when he makes his break, he gets grabbed. He's held. Referee's looking right at it, and he doesn't throw a flag. I will always and forever hate that about officials. I've always hated about media members that say something like, you can't call that there, or you can't call that in that situation, or let the players decide the game, not the refs. That's ridiculous. The rules are there for a reason. The players are deciding the game. He decided the game by holding and getting away with it. That penalty has to be called. If you were going to call it in the first quarter, you call it then. If you haven't called it all day, well, then go ahead and not call it. But the reason can never be, what's the last play? I don't want to call it. That's not a legitimate reason. That's ridiculous. So as I'm calling out the officiating crew for that terrible call, and that's different. The other call that I talked to you about, I didn't like it because we're talking about a rule interpretation. I think he interpreted the play wrong and applied the rule incorrectly, but it's not a bad call. I just disagree with it. I think there's a better call. I think you should have seen it differently. But please understand how the officials are trained, how fast that play happened, how it's bang, bang. I'm protecting the ref even though I'm disagreeing with him on the Jacoby Brissett interception. There's no protecting the officiating crew for blowing that call on the hold on Trey McBride. But I want to tell you something about that play that's very important before you flip out and act like the refs cost the Cardinals the game. The uproar that would have happened if they called a foul, or if they threw a penalty flag on that play and made it 1st and goal Cardinals, that was an illegal formation. And they didn't throw a flag for that either. Broadcasters didn't talk about it. No one's talking about it. But you know, this is my world. This is my realm, talking about officials, talking about the rules. It was 100% an illegal formation. If you get a chance to see the game again or see that play again, don't look at Trey McBride. Look at the top of the screen. The Cardinals have 2 receivers on the top of the screen. The way your formation has to work is you have 5 offensive linemen, and whoever is last on the line of scrimmage, in a sense, this doesn't matter about the offensive line, but just to let you know, whoever is the last person on the line of scrimmage, meaning on the far left and the far right side, those 2 players are eligible receivers. And an eligible receiver has to do one of 2 things: be wearing an eligible number or report in as an eligible receiver. Kelvin Beachum kind of filled in for Vokalek and became the move tight end all game. And so he kept reporting as eligible to play blocking tight end. So that's when you walk up to the ref, you shake your chest up, and you shake your hands up and down across your chest to say, hey, look at my jersey. I'm now going to line up in an eligible position. Okay. Hey, everybody. Number 68's reporting is eligible. So that's what you have to do if you're going to make your tackle a tight end. Make sense? You're allowed to do it. You just have to tell the ref you're doing it every time so he can tell the other team. Well, now in this formation at the top of the screen, the Cardinals had 2 people on the same line. I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining this because this is going to be a little hard. There wasn't a camera shot straight down the line, okay? So I don't know if those 2 guys were on the line of scrimmage or not, but it doesn't matter because I know that they were even and they can't be even. If neither guy was on the line of scrimmage, then the tackle is on the line of scrimmage by himself. And now you have made the tackle an eligible receiver who did not report in. So that's now an illegal formation. Or they were both on the line of scrimmage. If they were both on the line of scrimmage, if both receivers on the line of scrimmage, you did a good job. You covered up the tackle. So that's legal. The problem is the outside receiver is covering up the inside receiver. And you can't have a guy who's ineligible wearing an eligible number. And by both being on the line of scrimmage, once you cover up some guy, you are now the guy on the end of the line. Only the guy on the end of the line is an eligible receiver. And both guys had their foot on I think it was the 10-yard line or the 5-yard line. I can't remember. I think it was the 10. They both had their foot on the 10. Well, if you both have your foot on the 10, I know you're standing even with each other. It's obvious you're even. And if you're even, then the inside receiver's ineligible. And yet there he went out on a pass pattern. So that tells me, obviously, he did not report in. You're allowed to do it the exact opposite. You're allowed to say, I've got an eligible number, but I'm going to play tackle, so I'm going to be ineligible on this play. You're allowed to do that. A lot of teams do it on what's called an unbalanced line, where they'll shift and the tight end will move to tackle, and you move your tackle to tight end. And it's designed to screw with the offense. Screw with the defense. Because now, what are we going to do? They've got all of this beef on the left side of the line of scrimmage, and they've got this scrawny little tight end over here on the right side of the offense. What do we do now? They didn't see that coming. That's very, very common. Everybody's got that play in their playbook. But the key is the tight end has to, the tackle has to say at the beginning of the play, I'm eligible. And the tight end has to say, I'm going to be ineligible. Yes, you see me wearing an eligible number, but I'm going to be ineligible. I'm going to line up on the end of the line, and I'm going to get covered up. Or truthfully, you don't have to cover him up if you don't want to. You can leave him exposed because he's wearing an eligible number, so it's okay. That makes him tackle eligible. You've heard that phrase before. A better talk show host would have described everything I just went through a lot faster than anybody else. I think I took way too long on that. But my point was that was an illegal formation by the Cardinals. So even though we're all bent out of shape that Trey McBride did not get the penalty, it should have been offsetting penalties. Yet, what would they have done? They would have redone the down. So you still would have got another play, but you wouldn't have got the first down if they had called that play correctly. And all of that is Doug's big one. Bronktoberfest is still going on at Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. But I was at their big Saturday event, and it was pretty sweet. Man, they had a bunch of old Broncos, but most importantly, they had all these vendors everywhere to soup up your Bronco to have it become exactly what you want, a way to personalize your Bronco. It was a really cool event. I want to make sure that a lot more of us go out there to Santan Ford coming up next year for Bronktober. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned Bronco, you want to go to Santan Ford because not only do they have the best selection, but they are dominating leases right now. They've got great lease deals on a Bronco. And remember, you buy from Santan Ford, I buy you lunch at Trophy. I'll even come out with you when you buy the car and be a part of it because I believe in their product that much. That's Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. Go to santanford.com. Okay, for you, it is Monday morning or Monday afternoon or Monday evening, like I've always said. However, for me right now and for Howard Balzer of CardsWire, it is deep into the evening on Sunday night after I've just returned home from my performance on 12 News last night. So it's a little weird. I walked right in, took the suit off, put a t-shirt on, poured a beer and sat down, and there we go. And I did all of that. I hope I impressed everyone in 40 minutes, meaning from the time I left 12 News, drove to Goodyear, changed clothes and poured a beer and hooked up my system. So I'm kind of impressed with all that. Let's start off the conversation with Howard Balzer with 4 straight questions in a row. And it's how, it's do, it's should, and it's why. So here you go. Those are the 4 questions for Howard Balzer. 1, how is the family? 2, do the Cardinals have a quarterback controversy? 3, if your answer is no, should they have a quarterback controversy? And number 4 is, why did you say any of those 3 answers?
Well, first question is family is good. Always happy about that. I think on question 1, it's a little early for there to be a quarterback controversy, but there certainly could be one that develops. And number 3, which one was that?
It was based on your number 2 answer, which was, do they have a quarterback controversy? And if you were going to say no, I was going to say, well, should they have one? Because there's a difference. Here's the thing for me, Howard. I don't think they have a quarterback controversy because the Cardinals don't think they have a quarterback controversy. That's really where the controversy is, and I don't think the organization has one. Now, when I say should they, I'm not ready to say controversy, but I'm ready to call it a quarterback conversation. I think it's okay to be talking about, hey, why did it look so much better under Jacoby than it does Kyler?
Well, there's no question about that, and that's absolutely worth a conversation. As in anything, especially in football. And a little aside, I appreciate that what you've done on your TV appearances, especially as the whole city, was ready to throw Drew Petzing off a bridge, and you like to look at more of the nuances of it all, which is what I like to do also. And I do think that there is a mindset of the general fan that offense, that it's all about the play call. It's all about the offensive coordinator, mostly the quarterback, and then nothing else that happens around that matters, right? But on the we'll get to this in a moment, I'm sure. But on the defensive side, have you ever heard, Doug, of anyone say after a game, "Boy, I didn't like the play calling on defense"? No one ever says that because they don't look at it as plays. What happens on defense?
Unless you blitz against Mississippi State and they get a touchdown, then there's some people that had questions about the defense. But yes, for the most part, I'm totally with you on that point.
Yeah, and so that's what ends up. But there are so many nuances to that, as there are with your main question about the offense. And I think one thing that I don't know if it was mentioned on the broadcast at all. I don't believe it was, and it hasn't been talked about. But I think here is one notable aspect of today's game, or Sunday's game, that hasn't been mentioned, is that I'll go left to right: Paris Johnson Jr., Evan Brown, Yelda Froholt, Will Hernandez, and Jonah Williams. This was the first time. This was the offensive line that began 2024. They played together for one quarter, because Jonah Williams got injured on the final play of the first quarter against the Bills. That was the last time that this group of five that played today had been together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's part of the discussion, at least, for what we saw out there today in terms of, having some pretty good time to throw, feeling comfortable he could hang in the pocket. I do agree, and I sure do believe there's sometimes that Kyler bails too early because he's gotten used to everything breaking down around him, and so it becomes a mindset. But I do think that was certainly a part of what happened in that game against the Colts offensively.
I want to stay on quarterbacks, but you've intrigued me so much I can't move off of it. So I have to ask a follow-up. Do you think the 2025 plan all along was this five-man offensive line, or do you think it was Isaiah Adams? Isaiah Adams has proven either not good enough or not ready, one or the other, and then it became go get Will Hernandez, and it changed. Which do you think was the plan going into the season?
Well, I think the plan going into the season is that they hope that. And when we say into the season, I'm assuming you're talking about by the end of training.
Yeah, like August and September. Yes, exactly.
But once they signed Will Hernandez, which was, I recall, late July, early August, whatever it was, I have to look up the exact date.
Mm-hmm.
But once they signed him and were comfortable enough that he had made the progress from his rehab to have a good chance to play this year, then that changed things. They were looking at a guy that they hoped to get back on the field. And then, Doug, when they chose at the beginning, after the cut to 53, to keep him on the active roster and not put him on the reserve list, if they had done that, he wouldn't have been able to practice for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And he didn't practice a lot, but little by little, he was working into it, and he was able to start doing football things for the first time since that injury in week 5 last year. And so certainly, they had Isaiah Adams there. They wanted to see how that went. And I don't think Isaiah Adams was certainly bad. He had his bad moments, no doubt about it. But the guy wasn't awful. And as an aside, I'll also say all these references to the lowest grade in Pro Football Focus. I mean, I wish there would be a moratorium on anybody in the media or anyone ever referring to grades that Pro Football Focus puts on players, especially offensive linemen, because they don't know what their assignments are on the play.
So am I a hypocrite? Because I use it if it proves me right, and then I mock it if it proves me wrong.
I don't use it. I just try to ignore it, to be quite honest. And so, but the bottom line is, they felt that starting the season with Isaiah Adams was the best thing. But if Will Hernandez showed himself ready to play, which they felt obviously last week, and gave him 23 snaps at the beginning of the game. And there was a lot of difference in that offense last week with Kyler Murray and Drew Petzing. There was a lot of difference in that offense in the first 4 possessions than there was afterward. Now, granted, I think there was things that happened with the offense after Kyler got hurt that impacted the way he played because he wasn't pushing off his right foot correct the way you would normally. He wasn't running or any of those things. But so anyway, long answer to your basic question is I think once they deemed that Will Hernandez was making enough progress to be able to get back on the field, that yes, I mean, even if Isaiah Adams is playing pretty good, they know that it's going to be better with Will Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is certainly what their hope was. I don't know if it was the plan, but I think in the back of their minds, that's what their hope that it would be. And then they got him out there today. Last week, Evan Brown didn't play. And so Adams moved over to left guard. Now Brown was back and Hernandez was there. And I'm fairly certain they played every snap. And so that was certainly a plus for the entire offense. And Jacoby Brissett was able to take advantage of it. The quarterback sneak being in the offense. I think there was 2 3rd-and-1 conversions where he just, he almost did. They didn't do the tush push, but man, he gained 2 yards and he got some push after his first start that got him some extra yards. So there were definitely some things that he was able to do that isn't part of Kyler Murray's game. There were some things that he couldn't do because of that, but I think the protection generally was better. And again, he was able to hang in there, and even in the second half without Marvin Harrison Jr. And notably, I thought of this when I heard Trey McBride say after the game about how we had to change our game plan, basically when Travis McCulloch went out on that kickoff return. He didn't play one offensive snap. Well, in the game plan all week, he was the blocking tight end because Tip Ryman went on injured reserve.
Yeah.
And so I went back and looked at the play-by-play, and Kelvin Beachum reported as eligible 16 times in the game. So he was basically the blocking tight end. But I don't want anyone to suggest, and I have seen this on social media, that, Kelvin Beachum would do just as good a job as a blocking tight end. Well, no, he's solid.
Yeah.
But he's not a tight end because that guy moves sometimes. He has to move to get a linebacker or do this and that. A 310-pound guy, whatever Kelvin Beachum weighs, is not moving around greatly. But he still helped in that regard, and they were forced to do that because of that injury. So, again, all of these things are part of the nuances that you talk about and I mentioned, because all those things go into an offense. And so it's kind of crazy, some of the stuff you hear as you go back to the play calling. I mean, what happened with Amari DeMarcado last week, was that a bad play call?
Exactly.
They did that? I mean, Kyler Murray was injured on the snap that hit him in the face that was snapped too soon, and that blew up that play. No matter what happened on that 3rd and 12, they would have had a field goal attempt, and that could have changed the outcome. But, of course, hits him in the face. Tennessee recovers, and as he was stepping back from that and was totally startled by it, he stepped funny on his right foot, and that's what created that injury. And so those are all the little things, the details that everyone wants to talk about. But I know the noise on the outside doesn't look at details. They just go for the low-hanging fruit, which says, well, blame it on the play calling and blame it on this. But there's no doubt that Jacoby Brissett delivered the ball most of the time where it needed to be and got a lot of different receivers involved. I mean, when you look at the numbers for Michael Wilson and Zay Jones and Greg Dortch, and certainly a certain amount of it came after Marvin Harrison Jr. left, but they had almost as many yards in this game than they had totaled in the first 5.
You've just walked right into a major point right there and I don't know the answer because it might be tied into Marvin's injury. My theory would be Kyler locks on a receiver and wants this deep shot so bad that he waits, and now he brings a sack into play. While Jacoby Brissett looks at you, and if you're not open, when my back foot hits, I'm not looking at you anymore. I'm going from progression 1 to 2 to 3, up 3's open, and I get rid of it. And suddenly we have more people involved. I want to think I'm right, but I have to accept the fact that, well, Marvin got hurt. So is everybody involved because Marvin's hurt, or is everybody involved because Jacoby is getting the ball to the open man?
I think it's a combination, quite honestly. A few of those weren't that open. I mean, Michael Wilson wasn't open, but he made, a great catch. A couple of the catches that Harrison had, there was two, and I remember the second one he got hurt on. He wasn't totally open, but the ball was where it had to be, and he made the catch. He didn't drop the ball in the open field, and all those things were, for whatever reason, were things that were going on the offense in a lot of these earlier games. That there weren't as much, I don't think there was a holding penalty on offense in the game against the Colts. And so a lot of the self-inflicted wounds that were happening weren't happening either. So I think, like anything, Doug,
is there a chance the ball's getting out sooner? And the ball's getting out sooner, you're holding less.
Yeah, and that can be. So I think it's a combination of all of it.
Okay.
But it's not like whatever it is, it happens all the time or on every play. And there was some good offensive football played even with all this stuff with Kyler Murray. I mean, heck, everyone seems to forget the 2 touchdowns at the end of the Seattle game that ended up tying it, and then the defense couldn't stop them. And that's one of the things that's really rankled me in a lot of this conversation in the last week or so is how this defense is elite. This defense is fantastic. And I even heard someone say in the media after the game against the Colts that there was a new twist in the game. The defense didn't pull its weight. And I'm saying a new twist? This is a defense that in the fourth quarter, for every game this season, has been mostly abysmal. They let the Saints get back in the game. They let the Panthers get back in the game. The last 4 games, which have been decided by a total of 9 points, the winning drives have all come. Well, 3 of them as time expired with field goals, and then today with 4.5 left, whatever it was, have all been on late fourth quarter drives where all of a sudden the defense is playing well for the most part up till then, and then the fourth quarter they can't get it done, and it's just mind-boggling that that's not seen. I mean, I counted up in the press conference after the game against the Colts. There were 18 questions asked of Jonathan Gannon, and only 2 made reference to the defense. And that to me is I just don't get it. And they've averaged 19.2 points allowed in the first 5 games. They were, oh boy, that's one of the best numbers in the league. Well, look at the teams that they had done that against. I mean, except for the Seahawks, who are averaging going into this week a little over 29 a game. All the other teams, Carolina, New Orleans, San Francisco, Tennessee, were in the bottom 8 or 9 in the NFL in points scored. And then what happens against the Colts, a team that was averaging 32.6 coming in, they score 31. And so
yes.
I think that the defense, those defensive issues and the explosive plays that they give up in a lot of those games has been an issue all season.
Or the non-explosive in the sense of the Buddha drop. I mean, that's an explosive play you've got to make. And
yes.
And then to back up your stat, it's the one that I came up with is the offense is to blame too for not protecting leads, but that doesn't protect the defense. And they have had a fourth quarter lead in 5 of the 6 games that they were not able to either hold, or the first 2 games, you're biting your nails at the end of the game. In the one game where they did not have a fourth quarter lead, they tied it 20-20 and then allowed, with 38 seconds left, a team to drive down and hit a field goal.
Right. And then,
that's atrocious.
And then in that drive, obviously it began with the kickoff not getting into the landing zone, but then there was, I have to look, I think there was like a 28-yard play to Smith and Jigba, right? And that got him into field goal range. Against the 49ers, there was a 20-yard screen pass to Christian McCaffrey that made it a chip shot field goal. Every game there's been one of these. Today in the final drive, the final drive for the Colts, there was a 22-yard pass to Alec Pierce. So those things happen over and over, and that's it was easy to jump on the offense because they weren't scoring points and there were these issues, but the defense was right there with them. And I mean, what the heck? I mean, I was looking at here's score by quarters, Doug. I mean, this is pretty amazing when you look at it. In the first 3 quarters of the season, 6 games, first quarter 20 points allowed, second quarter 33, third quarter, 12. That adds up to 65 in the first three quarters. In the fourth quarter of all 6 games, they've given up 62. And in the game against the Colts, they led twice in the fourth quarter. And so I don't know why the defense kind of gets a pass and it's not, and it's ignored. Maybe again, it's what I said right at the top, how there's this, there's this focus on only the offense when things aren't going well for a team. But boy, it's not like they played high powered offenses in the beginning of this season. And yet the defense had all of these issues game after game. And that has to be corrected. And still, I mean, what the heck? I'm going to do a little research this week because there have been, I'm looking for this number now. I wrote it down here somewhere. There have been 36 games in the NFL this season and 91 that have been played where the margin of difference in winning is double digits. 36. Cardinals haven't had one of those. Every game has been a one-score game, and they're 2-4. So what the heck? We all know we wouldn't have been having all the outside noise and the chatter last week if DeMercado had just not done what he had done.
Yes.
Right? But he did, and that led to all this other stuff, that happened. But heck, these last 4, this is the fine line that exists, obviously, in the NFL. Win 2 of them, and they're 4-2 now, right? But they didn't. And so somehow they've got to figure out a way to get that right. But the fine line in this league, I've said it over and over, and I'll never stop saying it as long as I can talk about the NFL, is that who wins, who makes the play to help you win a close game, whether it's on offense or defense, because that separates teams in the NFL when you're only playing 17 of them during the course of the season. I mean, what the heck? I saw a number. I don't remember what the number is. Maybe I mean, even during baseball, look at all the one-run games that the Diamondbacks lost.
And they were dominant in that stat in 2023. And what did they do? They went to the World Series.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big part of the story. And who knows what happens going forward. I certainly don't buy the whole notion that, the season's over. But it's not the sky is falling. But it is an unfortunate pattern that we have seen.
Yeah, no, the sky isn't falling, but walk with an umbrella, good point. It's kind of how I feel. Here's the thing, though. I don't think if Jacoby Brissett was great or terrible yesterday, or if Kyler Murray was great all year and didn't play yesterday, no matter what we say about yesterday, I don't think Kyler's playing Sunday against the Packers. I think when you have a foot injury that's not good, you're a smaller player that relies on your legs, and you have a bye weekend next week, I think it's pretty well set in stone. Brissett's going to start against the Packers. So then the huge question becomes, what if he's even better? We've seen this before. We cannot forget we've seen Jacoby Brissett been given chances to earn a starting job. He's earned starting jobs before, and then eventually it didn't go well. But when we know Kyler is one way, like you know what you get with Kyler now, and you do get a whole bye week to stop and think about it if Brissett does well again. I'm excited to see Howard Kyler come back in, meaning the Dallas game. When you see somebody step in your shoes and do well, to me, it takes every excuse away. It's no longer Drew. Like, even though you and I don't think it is, Kyler can't say it's Drew Petzing's fault. His dad can't say it's the GM's fault for not giving him the weapons. The fans can't say Marvin Harrison Jr.'s a bust. All of the reasons why Kyler has struggled are out the window if Jacoby Brissett does not. And I want to see what that does to the mindset of Kyler, because I'll give you a hilarious opinion. The great American philosopher Nick Van Exel, the crazy point guard for the Lakers, was asked one time, why are you guys moving the ball so much better when Kobe's hurt? And he said, because now we might get the ball back. I kind of look at that and I say that's where we are right now, Howard. If the offense does really well, maybe Kyler will think, maybe I do have to start listening a little bit.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I don't know that agree that he doesn't listen. And I think he's been, very attentive and done as hard of work as he can since this new group came in.
Okay.
And we saw, we saw at the end of that first year when he came back from the ACL, we saw last year. And again, it's not great all the time, but no team is great all the time. But we did see progress and we did see good things. And there have been some good things, like I said earlier, in the first games this season. But there weren't, they didn't happen at the times you needed them to. And so that's one of the keys. Of course, today it didn't happen when you really needed it either.
Right.
When they got down to the 12-yard line, and I'm thinking, boy, just run some clock here. Yeah, I was hoping they'd get a first down inside the 2 or at the 2, and then have the Colts have to give up, use all their timeouts, and then let the clock run and run a couple and score with 10 seconds left on the clock. So there'd be no time for them, to come back. And that's what everyone's thinking. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. And you heard Jacoby Brissett talk about it after the game. Well, there were some communication issues there, things I didn't explain. He was talking about things that just kind of didn't work great on that series of downs.
Mm-hmm.
And it resulted in gaining 3 yards on 4 plays and not getting into the end zone, even though I do believe that Trey McBride was contacted and interfered with. But, you can't count on the officials.
Right. That's how I feel.
To give you the call. So even some of those things that didn't happen a lot during that game, they kind of happened on that last possession.
I got something shocking for you, Howard, and I explained this to everybody else earlier in the show, but you haven't heard this. I totally believe that was a horribly blown call. It was 100% defensive holding. However, I don't think anybody noticed the formation was illegal. If you look at the top of the screen, you have a right tackle and either, and I don't know which because you never have a perfectly down the line shot, either the right tackle was uncovered or you had a slot receiver that was covered, because above the right tackle on the top part of the screen, both receivers were standing on the exact same yard line. So I don't know which it was, but either the right tackle's uncovered because they were off the line of scrimmage, or they were both on the line of scrimmage, and that means you had a receiver in the slot who was covered and then went out in a pass pattern, which is illegal procedure, illegal formation. So it's like I thought the refs were bad all the way around yesterday, and therefore it was fair.
Well, yeah, that's a good point, and that might have been what Brissett was talking about after the game. I'll have to go back and look at that play. I thought also, and this one was really strange to me, is on the interception that Brissett threw after the Cardinals got the interception, and Zay Jones was clearly contacted, and it kept him from finishing his route, and Brissett was throwing it to the spot that he believed that he thought Jones was going to be, and it was intercepted. And yet Darryl Johnston, the analyst, said, well, it was inadvertent contact. Well, what is that? Is that like an alternative fact? I don't know.
Yeah, they are taught as officials that the defender is entitled to his space. So it's almost like they don't say it like this, but it's almost like taking a charge. Like, I'm allowed to stand here, and if you run into me, that's your fault. But to me, the offensive player has to be given room, and the defensive player was moving to his man. So even though I thought it was totally inadvertent, it wasn't similar to when you're running downfield. It's not pass interference if your legs get caught together and you're looking at the ball. That's clearly, hey, that's life. And I think they were trying to categorize it in that category. And I personally disagree with that interpretation, because I believe neither of them are entitled to either space, because they're both moving and the defender moved into the offensive path. I think it should have been pass interference. It would have been sad. It would have stunk. But, because I understand it was totally unintentional, but I think that was a poor interpretation. But I do want to give the refs some room, because they are taught if it's inadvertent, don't throw the flag. I just don't think that was inadvertent.
Yeah. No, and to me, even if it's inadvertent, I mean, it's a guy can't get to where he wants to go, and he didn't initiate it. But
yes,
that's all part of interpretation. Like you said. But I think overall, what we saw today. I mean, here's a team that isn't playing without its top running backs. I mean, the Cardinals right now, Doug, have 12 players on either injured reserve or physically unable to perform. 12 guys put on since the cut to 53. That's the most in the NFL. The most. In the division, the other three teams, the Rams, Seahawks, and 49ers, have a total of 10 guys. The Rams have 1. The Seahawks have 2. The 49ers have 7. And we see some of the issues they're having. But I think you make a case that the way the Seahawks and Rams are playing is they're they're mostly healthy football team right now. The Cardinals are dealing with all these guys, running back, and then today without Harrison, and what they've had to endure in the secondary with losing 2 guys before the season even started, and then being without Will Johnson for a couple of games, and Garrett Williams, who is eligible to return to practice this coming week, but losing him for several games. Max Melton misses a game. What they've been able to do, I think, deserves some praise for playing through that as best as they can, and certainly probably some of the issues on defense are because of some of those guys that have been missing. I mean, I think Darius Robinson was starting to play better as he was in there. Now all of a sudden he's missed 2 games.
Yeah, and who knows what Nick Rollis is not calling because he's afraid with the corners I have. I can't call that. I can't call that. I can't call that.
Exactly. So I think all that they've played through and have experienced, and the one thing I hate the most is when, it's next man up and all teams have injuries. Well, next man up, and Darryl Johnston did say that during the broadcast. There's reasons certain guys are starters and certain guys are backups.
Yeah.
And yes, all teams have injuries, but not in the same degree. And when you start getting them at the same position, then it's very hard and difficult to overcome that. And yet this team has continued to fight and battle and has been this close in these 4 games. I mean, you look around the league and you see the number of blowouts that there've been, and but the Cardinals haven't had any of those. And I know someone say, you're just looking for silver linings, but no, when you're playing a lot of close games, it means you're very competitive and you're right there with a chance to win. They just haven't found that elixir, if you will. I hate to use the word magic formula because that does not exist, but they just haven't found that consistent way, or whatever it is that creates those certain teams to be able to do that. They just haven't found that yet, and who knows if they will, but if they need to, if they're going to somehow at least get back. Hey, it's hard in the NFL. You're 2-4. You're 2-4 now, and it's hard when you start falling below 500. And it can take half a month or a month to just get back to 500, much less get into position to be a potential playoff team.
You can always get lucky and make it with 9 wins, but you assume you've got to get to 10 wins to get to the playoffs, and nobody wants to look at it. But if you look at it through that prism, that means you've got to somehow get 8 wins in 11 games, right? I mean, that's kind of where you're at.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you have to win 8 and to be 10-7. So you have to go 8-3 the rest of the way to be 10-7. And so how realistic is that? It's not impossible, but I don't think anyone would predict that it's going to happen. But as I've always said, crazy things in sports all the time. As we know, anything can happen in this league, but you can't do it by talking. You have to do it by doing, obviously, and that's what they have to somehow figure out.
Last question is, if somebody wants to have buy Howard Balzer bed sheets, or if they're looking for big posters of you, how do they get more Howard Balzer in their life?
Well, you can go to carswire.usatoday.com. I have a lot of this type of information. I've always been kind of into the numbers, not just numbers for the sake of them, but numbers that a lot of people aren't putting out there. So you can see that in the stories
Your numbers about the IR list is a fantastic stat.
Yeah, and so those are the things that you can find there. I have a weekly appearance on with Rockin' Minuch and Jimmy B on Thursdays on ESPN 620. So that's where you can find me. And the more clicks, obviously, we get on the on the website, the better. That's where you can find me. And of course, whenever I come on with you, always enjoy it. Always enjoy the discussion. I know that you had said one of the last times, "Hey, we got to get you on now after the and we'll do it one of these days with the Pro Football Hall of Fame as we're getting closer and closer as the days pass by, and we're not that far away from getting serious about it all. And I know we've had some conversations about that in the past. The Hall will be announcing pretty soon the initial cut to around 50 players of the modern day guys. And we know Larry Fitzgerald, I'm certain, will be in that group, but we'll have that conversation one of these days too, because I know we've talked about it before. How
this year's list is nuts.
Oh, it's totally nuts. And the way they've made it hard to get in. Everyone asked me, Doug, Fitzgerald is a lock first-time guy, isn't he? And I say, well, he probably should be. But the way they're doing it now, especially when you have Drew Brees in there and you have Frank Gore and you have Phillip Rivers, and and you have a lot of guys coming back into the finalist group that have been there for several years. And I'm almost of the mind not to say anymore that I don't know if anybody is a lock because of how hard that the Hall of Fame has made this process in the last year. So, we'll get more into that in depth and, in the coming days and weeks.
That sounds great. Let's make sure that we do it. Thank you, Howard. Good luck on the website.
Thanks, Doug. Take care. Same with you and your podcast.
Going to be hard to keep up with this list, but from Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical, we have a reverse osmosis system, a tankless water heater, and 2 air scrubbers that actually remove pollens and germs from the air that we breathe in our home. So what does Parker & Sons do? They only handle the air that we breathe and the water that we drink, and they do a great job. Call 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602 the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker & Sons.
Burrito Express started with my father about 25 years ago. He got laid off and decided that he needed to do something to provide for his family. My brother and I were older teens, 17, 18-year-old. I'm going to do a trial out of my house. So literally, we decided we're going to start out of his house. So we delivered menus in a square mile area, literally started delivering burritos out of our home in Mesa, Arizona. And after about a month, he said, let's do this. Went and found his first location. And believe it or not, that's how it started. We started with one location back in 1995. Now we're where we are now.
I already know what I want to ask today at the Kenny Dillingham press conference. I've never asked this question because we all think we know the answer. But what is the answer? Kenny Dillingham said after the game that every aspect of the game was a butt whooping. They got out-coached, they got outplayed, the Utah was more physical.
Yeah, they do a really good job. I mean, they're triple option. They put in big O linemen as their tight end, and they say, we're going to move you the other direction, and they moved us the other direction. Then we have to tackle them. They did a really good job tackling, and then they do a good job schematically. They read our 3 technique on a play that scored a touchdown. Right? They haven't shown to do that. It was called midline, and it scored. That's coaching touchdown. Right? Good scheme by them. Like, they got us. That's going to happen. They did some really good things. I mean, they beat us as a whole program. They jumped our guard with his head down on field goal, which has showed up a few times this year. So good scheme by them. We got to be better at that as a staff to make sure that doesn't show up again. So, I mean, they just beat us top to bottom. The best part about football is it's only worth 1. They don't add up the scores at the end of the year and say what was your total score. They just put 1 L in there and hopefully we can move on.
I want to ask him specifically, what does it mean that you were outcoached? Like, everybody thinks they know. Oh, they were outcoached. Well, were they? You know, if you told a player 7 times do X and they do Y, were you outcoached? Well, maybe that guy can't do Y, so you should quit telling him to do X. Yeah, maybe he can't do either of them. Who knows? That's your job to know what is the best for that player. However, his best has to fit into what the team concept is. So I want to know from him, what does it mean to be outcoached? And what does it mean to be out physicaled? Like when the other team is, hey, they're more, is it just simply, well, you got to hit the weight room? Is it more of a technique thing? Is it more of a recruiting thing? Do they have better trainers than you? I mean, like, what does it mean to be less physical? Is it just attitude? Like, how do we get there? I'm just kind of like, on the one hand, on the surface, it feels like, yeah, we all know the answer, but I want it articulated to say this, not to pigeonhole coach, but more to, what does it mean? What does it mean in your eyes so we know it when we see it? I think it's a really interesting, deep question. You might say, boy, is that dumb? What do you mean, what does it mean to be outcoached? Come on, Doug. But that's kind of what I'm looking at. ASU looked awful. Looked absolutely awful. Devin Dampier only threw 12 passes, but his 7 completions went for 100 yards, and then he ran for 120 yards himself and 3 rushing touchdowns. I didn't think Jeff Sims looked very good. 18 of 38 for 124 yards. I was disappointed, I admit. And Jonathan Gannon, I'm thinking about the Cardinals, and Kenny Dillingham, he was not. I think he's just being nice, though.
I thought he played pretty well. I mean, I think there's a few throws, obviously, like that back, like every quarterback, but he extended plays, extended some third down and some fourth downs for first downs. You know, obviously the timing, I think the more he's back there, the more better timing he'll get with the guys. Obviously, early in the game, it was rainy, so it's hard to, judge that. It's just hard to judge throwing the ball in 15, 20 mile per hour winds and rain. The second half, you saw he threw a couple that were pretty good. So I was pleased with this performance.
Yeah, I was. I don't think it gives you much benefit if the coach says in a press conference, no, I was really disappointed in my backup quarterback. I wouldn't say I was maybe I was a little strong. I'm really disappointed, but I was disappointed. When I hear amazing things about the person that is Jeff Sims, and I hear amazing things about how hard he works in practice and what a solid leader he is to, not get his opportunities, and yet he's still in the program, working hard, always ready. And guess what? It didn't seem like, he was ready. And I still have a beef with Sam being hurt. I totally believe the story that ASU is putting out that he tweaked a foot or an ankle or something in the Baylor game is true. I don't think they're lying at all. I just think there's so much more to the story. I think he re-injured that ankle or foot doing something he shouldn't have been doing. And I think Kenny loves him so much and the school loves him so much that they don't want it out what happened, because then it might violate it might violate an NIL deal. I mean, imagine you're a company, you're paying him, you're on the hook for $2 million. You want him out there. You want him succeeding so they can say, that's our boy. And if you are doing something that you can get hurt doing during the season that's not part of football, they're going to be fired up. They're going to be irate that you did that. And there's probably clauses in the contract that get them out of paying you. Well, that's not good. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't want, like, the whole program doesn't want that to happen to their quarterback, because they don't want it out there that somebody didn't let Sam Levitt be a college kid. Because college kids are going to do some, I don't even want to call it dumb things. I don't know what he did. I don't want to call it dumb, but if he did get hurt outside of practice, unless it was a fluke, he took a bad step off of whatever it is, the sidewalk, which is pretty unathletic. And I'm having a hard time with this one. I don't know who it was in the media. I was not at the game. But somebody in the ASU media then asked Kenny Dillingham, is there any chance this game was a product of Sam's injury? Not the loss, but more along the lines of the lack of physicality, some of the mental errors, things like that. Do you think it was just kind of a reaction of, hey, we don't have our guy? They didn't put it this way, but it was almost as if the person was asking, did the guys quit? Like, now that they feel like without Sam, we don't have a chance to get back to the Big 12 championship game. That's our expectation. We're not going to reach our expectation. Therefore, woe is us.
No, I don't think it was an emotional feeling from that perspective. I think they just fired off the ball. I mean, I wish there was a better way to put it. We got to go back to the fundamentals of defeating blocks and tackling. But, they were running speed sweeps, get to the edge, quarterback +1 run. I mean, anytime you have a quarterback go for 12 yards a carry, 10 rushes for 120 yards, and those aren't scrambles, those are direct runs. I mean, that's the +1 that you get in the triple option game, right? If you look at the running backs, like they ran the ball well, right? But it wasn't nearly as drastic as the quarterback, and the quarterback in the +1, we just couldn't tackle. And they were giving us a lot of schematic issues with the motions and the shifts and putting an extra O lineman on the field. So they just outcoached us, outplayed us, absolutely whooped our butt. I mean, it's the first time we've really gotten whooped like that in a long time. Like I said, I'm glad it's only worth one game. The challenge is, can you flush it enough to make it only worth one game? And that's what I told the team in the locker room. Like, that's the hard part, is how do you get it out of your system, right? And you better do it quick.
Now, the reason why that stuff matters, if you're playing on your heels, you're not as physical. If they're doing lots of motions and shifts and you're trying to remember, okay, what's my assignment? Where am I going here? What am I doing here? Oh my gosh. Boom, the ball is snapped. Now you don't know what you're doing. And when you don't know what you're doing, you can't play with the reckless abandon. You need to have a high football IQ, stay focused. What's my role? Boom, and then explode. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can't explode. You just don't know. And I think that's what he's referring to there. Like, that's why all of the other things, it might sound like an excuse, and it's not. Because the reason why it's not an excuse is you should have known. You should have coached them up well enough that they knew their assignment. The players should have studied up enough that they knew their assignment. But that's the whole point of the eye candy of the Utah offense, is to get your eyes off your assignment. And then you get taken advantage of because you're not locked in. And then it looks like you're not physical when the truth was you couldn't be physical because you didn't know what you were supposed to be doing. And that's just the pre-snap stuff. Then once they snap it, well, now you've got, okay, they might flash a receiver to come around on a fake end around while the ball's also in the belly of the back, and the end is being read on whether or not the back's going to do the dive or whether the quarterback's going to keep it. And it's all about reading you on defense. And if your eyes are untrained and you start looking at something that's not your responsibility, or you take a false step, that's when the option kills you.
Yeah, they do a really good job. I mean, they're triple option. They put in big O linemen as their tight end, and they say, we're going to move you the other direction, and they moved us the other direction. Then we have to tackle them. They did a really good job tackling, and then they do a good job schematically. They read our 3 technique on a play that scored a touchdown, right? They haven't shown to do that. It was called midline, and it scored. That's coaching touchdown, right? Good scheme by them. Like, they got us. That's going to happen. They did some really good things. I mean, they beat us as a whole program. They jumped our guard with his head down on field goal, which has showed up a few times this year. So good scheme by them. We got to be better at that as a staff to make sure that doesn't show up again. So, I mean, they just beat us top to bottom. The best part about football is it's only worth one. They don't like add up the scores at the end of the year and say like, what was your total score? They just put one L in there and hopefully we can move on.
It's interesting when he mentioned the 3 technique and getting that read, and they haven't shown that before. You're putting your 3 technique as the outside shoulder of the guard, and then they're figuring out, or I should say, they're trying to figure out what should they do. Because let's say you've got a great run stuffing 3 technique. So he's on the outside shoulder of the guard. He reads the run and he tries to go inside that guard and squeeze right in between the guard and the center and take what's called the A gap. And now you've successfully stopped the run. The problem is when the defensive tackle does that, the 3 technique, he's blocked himself if the quarterback keeps it. When I say blocked himself, meaning you've now put yourself in that gap. The guard and center converge. Now they've got a deuce block on you. The running back tries to go through that hole. Everybody thinks the running back has the ball, and the quarterback just pulls it out from the running back and then runs behind the running back who's crossed over, and that 3 technique is already trapped by the guard and center. He can't get out of that block, and then boom, the quarterback runs right in that space where you were standing. It's no different than being in a car on the 10 and you're in the center lane and all of a sudden the center lane's going slow. You get sick of it. You move over one lane to your left to pass people. And right when you move over one lane to your left, a car 2 lanes over from your left moves right. And they just, boom, they got right in front of you. And now people beside you keep moving. Like, wait, what just happened here? And you got stuck. And that's exactly what happens on the midline play if the 3 technique worries about stopping the run. If the 3 technique feels like, I don't care about the run, I'm coming after the quarterback because I want to get the sack if he throws. Well, now he's going right up through the guard's outside shoulder. Because he's lined up on the outside shoulder of the guard. He's coming straight up the field. Well, now that left the gaping hole so big that not only do you hand the ball to the running back and he goes right up the middle, but the center can help the guard block and only for a minute. Give him one little push. The back's already through, and now the center easily gets up to the second level. Second level is the cool term for the linebackers. It's the next level of the defense. If you have a tight end or a fullback blocking a linebacker, it's a pretty even battle. When you get a center out there, it's not an even battle anymore. It's strength on speed. But the center can normally get there so fast. Why? Because the 3 technique, again, blocked himself. So you basically run the play and say, 3 tech, which way do you want to go? Oh, you're going inside, quarterback, keeper. Oh, you're staying to the outside shoulder of the guard. Boom, running back. Here we go. And then if you care, that creates all kinds of havoc because now you have all these guys that are ready to fly to the football that have to stop flying to the football because they're really worried about boring defense. Read and react. Doing more of a 2-gap scheme where I take the block, I'm not aggressive, I let you hit me, and I try to stand my ground, watch which way the ball goes, then react, but now I'm chasing my tail. Everybody who gets recruited, we're going to run an aggressive defense. We're going to attack all the time. Okay, yeah, we're going to attack. And then you play a team like Utah, and if you attack, their yardage gets bigger because that's the whole point of the play. Every play is designed to take advantage of where you've chosen to attack. And the only way around it is speed. It sounds funny. Is to attack faster before they can react. But if they do react, now the play got even bigger. Your failure's even more large. Like if you get there fast enough, success, good job. But if you try to get there so fast and they catch you, well, now you just failed. But all you did was the exact same thing. I'm doing a great job explaining this to me. I have no idea if I'm doing a good job explaining it to you this morning. I think. But that's what Kenny Dillingham was talking about right there with getting hit with the midline. But then he said that led to him, being out coached. And I'm not entirely sure. Okay, the last one from Coach Kenny. I think this is a big deal. Center Ben Coleman moving to guard and then getting hurt.
Obviously, the first drive with Ben in the game, we drove down the field, and the first play left, we got a holding call, which really ended that drive, which was catastrophic. But yeah, we'll see how Ben responds. But yeah, definitely we lost Ben. We had a few other things happen up there. Like I said, I think I said it on the radio, I think we're going to lose 2 or 3 guys for extended period of times from that game. So yeah, we're a part of it. It's part of the game. Unfortunate for those guys, but we'll see how it shakes out.
I'm really worried they're going to announce today that Ben Coleman is hurt until like a college football playoff return or not a return at all. It's between you and I, but I don't think it's going to be good news today. What he said, we were going to lose 2 or 3 guys to an extended period of time. That worries me because you've already got O-line issues. And you might have either Jeff Sims at quarterback and he's going to struggle, or you have Sam Levitt in quarterback and he's not as mobile, and you've got an offensive line that's not healthy with a less mobile quarterback. And oh, by the way, you're playing the number 7 team in the country. Welcome aboard. UofA a loser. 33-27. You got to be thrilled that you go to double overtime. Couldn't stop Martin. 25 carries, 162 yards. I think Parker Kingston moved himself up into a draftable position. 5 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. I liked him. But I had a problem with Coach Brennan in this one. I had a big problem. Let's give you his opening statement. He walks up to the media before anybody asks him a question. Here's what he says.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you to our fans. Stuck through another weather delay, and I thought they did a great job. It was awesome. It's awesome late in the game there in overtime. Just the energy they provided. The Zona Zoo was on fire once again, and so many of those young people stayed through the rain and in the bad weather. So I just want to say thank you to all of them. When I look at this game and just coming right off the field now, to me, I look at it, we just battled the first place team in the Big 12 for 4 quarters and 2 overtimes, and we never backed down. Now, we didn't get the result we want, but those kids played their hearts out, and that is something to be excited about. Now, the goal is to win, and I understand that, but we're a better football team, and we're halfway through the season, and we have a lot to work on, but we also have a lot to feel good about. And so when I look at this thing, going into it, we knew it was going to be a physical battle. That was one of those things that we talked about all week. We knew our effort was going to have to be red line. And, the thing that's so hard about it is that we didn't get it done. And so, that's something that, when we talk about red line accountability, that starts with me, and that's everybody in the facility. And so we'll go to work on fixing those things and get ready for the next one. But I thought there were moments there where Noah was playing great football and we were making plays and we found some run game. People haven't run the ball on them like that. I thought that was a positive. And then also, I thought our defense played their tails off, held them scoreless for 2 quarters. That hadn't happened in 30-plus quarters. So there's a lot of things to be excited about. Obviously, it's still pretty fresh and pretty raw. So, that's the hard part for me right now, standing up here in front of everybody. But I'm proud of this football team. I think we're making progress. I'm sick about the result tonight, but I believe in these players. I believe in these coaches, and I'm excited about what's coming the next couple weeks.
My number one takeaway from that is I'm already sick of the phrase red line. That's that red line accountability. It's that red line. Are we playing at red line? I don't know. I don't think that's sticking. Maybe it is there. I mean, listen, I'm a guy in Goodyear, Arizona, in my wife's little former office, now taken over as my studio. I go to a game in Tucson once every 5 years or so. I am hardly an authority on it. But it just doesn't stick with me, and obviously I'm not the target audience. This is where, though, I strongly disagree. I think this is a massive mistake that Brent Brennan did. At the end of the first half and at the end of regulation, they basically took a knee and gave up both times while still holding timeouts. I'm not saying you never do that. If you've had a horrible first half and you just need to get out of it, okay. If Fafita had thrown 5 interceptions in the first half, okay. But when I've got an experienced quarterback, I think you've got to do this. You got it. I'm not talking about throwing deep, but give him a chance to move the ball and call a timeout. Trust him. That's what I would want done. And I admit I didn't always have that opinion. I don't remember which Super Bowl it was, but I'm highly confident it was the season of 2001 and the Super Bowl of 2002. But do you remember the Super Bowl where New England beat Kurt Warner and the Rams? Rams had beaten the Titans, won the Super Bowl. And then I forget who was in the Super Bowl the next year. And I think the year after that, Kurt Warner gets back to the Super Bowl. If you remember, the Patriots defense made a stop, forced the Rams to punt in a tie ball game. And there's about, like a minute left in regulation. And all of a sudden, here comes Tom Brady in the offense. And they're driving down the field in the last minute. And I'm kind of like, wait a minute. You take 2 knees and you go into overtime. You can't have this young player in Tom Brady throw a pick. Somebody has a bad fumble. And all of a sudden you're putting the Rams in good field position to kick a field goal and win the game in regulation. Don't do this, Bill. And of course I was dead wrong. They drive right down. Adam Vinatieri hits a field goal. It doesn't go into overtime. Brilliant. Well, why not trust Noah Fafita to be able to possibly do that? I don't understand that. And if it doesn't work, okay, then we'll take knees at the end. But you've got an experienced quarterback. I think you've got to take advantage of that.
In both of the halves, you had the ball with 20 seconds or something left. Was there consideration to try to at least take one shot, maybe at the end of the first half? I know you did one and then decided to knee, but the second half, was there consideration to try and maybe see if you could get one chunk play?
So, Brian, both those situations are incredibly different. They're not the same just because there's 20 seconds on the clock, right? At the end of the first half, we know we're getting the ball coming out of halftime. So there's no reason for us to take a shot, put Noah at risk, turn it over, let them be in position and swing in a field goal right before the half, right? At the end of the game, same thing, knowing that, right, they're going to play crazy prevent. It's going to be really hard to complete a ball because they're going to drop 8 and they're going to have a flat top on umbrella on the top of the coverage. And so that at that moment, I was like, let's go win it in overtime.
What is he talking about? If you didn't watch the game, UofA scored a touchdown late in the second quarter. BYU got the ball back. They only ate up 22 seconds and threw a pick. And now UofA has the football on their own 39-yard line, and they got 2 timeouts. Now, I want to be fair. There's only 20 seconds left or something. That's not a lot of time. But why not? I mean, why not be very, very aggressive there to see what you can do? And then he says, okay, we just felt like we're just going to go out there and let's get ready for overtime. Well, you got the ball at your own 25-yard line, 20 seconds left and 2 timeouts. Can we run a play? Can we run one play and see where it goes instead of taking a knee? Just one then. Can I get a little screen? Can I get something? And again, I don't want you to think I'm a hypocrite. If this is a rookie quarterback in the NFL, if it's a freshman quarterback, if it's even a transfer in his first game with a new offense, there are things you can talk me into saying, no, let's not put the game in jeopardy of a turnover in which they can kick a field goal and win it. And I get that. But when I've got the juice of a Noah Fafita, if I believe in him, if I've got this guy who's been in the program this long, I got to try. When I say take a shot, I don't mean boom 80-yard bomb. I just mean let's try something. You can get sacked and now you fumbled. I mean, there's a lot of risk. So I want to tell you, I am not acting like I want to drive 100 miles an hour in the center lane. What I would like to have done is give me something and let's see the result. If I only get 5 yards, boom, the clock's going to run out. That's fine. But if I get 15 yards and now I've jumped out to the 40-yard line at the end of regulation, boom, I take one of my timeouts. And now I'm at the 40. I got a chance. If I can just get 20 more yards, well, then I can kick a field goal. And I can probably run 2 plays to get those 20 yards. You know? I think that was really the wrong decision. And I'm not going to say it cost them the game because how do we know what would have happened? And maybe I'm wrong. And he throws a pick 6 and the game's over. I really think, and let me add to this if you don't mind. You're U of A, they're BYU. You're not the favorite. You're not expected to win. And when that's the case, I think you got to step on their throat. You know, if you're expected to win, if you know you are so much better than the other team, well, then just go to overtime. Then that's a great idea to go to overtime because you're better. They'll either screw up or you'll just whoop them. Don't get in the way, coach. Just extend the game, wait for the other team to screw up. But when you're U of A, I think you got to take it to them. And that's not that. Like, you can't talk me off this ledge. I really think Brent Brennan screwed that up. Absolutely. You know, the times I talk about quarterbacks and I want to hear accountability, whether it's your fault or not. U of A was a disaster in the red zone Saturday. Noah Fafita was asked about it.
In the red zone, everything gets faster. So you got to be super detailed. You got to be on time with everything, with steps, with footwork, timing, and obviously ball placement. So I think we missed a lot of opportunities, especially on my part. I know I missed 2 throws in I think our second red zone drive down by the jumbotron. So those are opportunities you can't miss. And at the end of the day, I think the red zone told the story.
See what I mean about a quarterback? Yeah, can happen. And I know I missed 2 throws and I missed this. And you're putting that first. You're telling your teammates, this is where I let you down. And this is now what's your plan. This is how I plan on being better. That's really good. That is really good. I like Noah Fafita. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I think if you're going to be a quarterback at that size, you have to be brilliant with your feet. And I think that you have to have either an above average football IQ from a defense, a reading of a defense's standpoint, or you have to be upper level elite like Drew Brees. But think about Russell Wilson, for an example. Russell Wilson, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, when you look at the number of 10, 11, 12 win seasons he had in a 9 to 10 year career in Seattle, plus 1 Super Bowl and with a better play call, 2 Super Bowls, that's Hall of Fame stuff. And maybe he doesn't get in because he's playing his way out of the Hall of Fame now, but that's Hall of Fame stuff. But he was not elite as a coverage reader but he developed into a better and better quarterback all the time. But it wasn't natural. Drew Brees, it was natural. So to me, you got to, I don't think Baker Mayfield's very big, but man, he's such a great leader. He's such a galvanizer. And he's really cut down on his turnovers. So those are the things, I mean, as you get shorter in stature or smaller in stature, your quarterback has to have something very, very special that avoids getting hit. I think like with Kyler, he gets hit too much. So he's getting hurt all the time. There's a lot of good football stuff today. Hopefully you like today's show. Versus Vegas is up next. It's Doug Franz Unplugged, presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass.
Here is Sue Rigler on starting 100 Mile Brewing Company.
What started 100 Mile Brewing Company is I actually have a degree in microbiology from ASU. Go Devils. And went back to school. I found out that UC San Diego had a brewing program, so I enrolled in that. And with the intention of opening a brewery, I came back to Tempe because it's Sun Devil country. I wanted to open a brewery in Tempe, which fresh, it never gets old is our tagline. And I'm pretty much a stickler about fresh beer. It's got to be fresh. Otherwise, it's not going to be served here.
It's time for I guess I could be doing some singing and dancing, but I was only one game above 500, so I don't think I should be dancing. No. When you look at the fact that I came into the weekend 1-9 recently, and with the juice, I think I made about 50 cents. It's hard for me to get too excited yesterday. Oh, boy. I think the one that hurt me the most is Detroit. So I got Friday night wrong. I went with the Tigers on the money line against Seattle. That was the 15-inning classic in which Seattle won 3-2, bottom of the 15th. All those chances Detroit had to win it, and we would have gone 5-2. And, we would have all went to Bell's for dinner or something. I mean, listen, I'll take 5-2 every day of the week. 4-3, you got to worry about the juice, and I barely cleared it. So we get that one wrong. I took Oregon over Indiana. I had no doubt in my mind Vegas had that wrong. The fact that Oregon was only a touchdown favorite, and Indiana won. Oregon didn't cover because they didn't win. Indiana won 30-20. So I owe a massive recantation on my thoughts on Indiana. And I don't think Iowa State's nearly as good as I did at the beginning of the year, but I didn't think they were so bad they were going to lose to Colorado. So we took the Cyclones minus the 2.5, and they didn't cover because they didn't win. Colorado won 24-17. Colorado was terrible. That was a bad one. And that kind of punches you in the face of what you think of Iowa State. But everything else we won. We took the Buckeyes minus the 2 touchdowns against Illinois. Ohio State won 34-16. So we got that one right and kind of easy. We went for blood money, picking against UofA and ASU. We took BYU minus the 1.5, and that was 33-27 BYU. We took Utah minus the 4.5 because I went with that before the news about Sam, but it jumped all the way up, I think, to 7 once the news about Sam hit. It didn't matter what it was, unless it was 33. Utah won 42-10. And then we took the Seahawks on the money line against Jacksonville, and they won 20-12 against Jacksonville, so we got that one right. So we went 4-3 yesterday. Not bad. I should say over the weekend. So today, we're going to do something I never do. We're going to parlay the Monday night games. I think the spread is going to be tough, but I really like Buffalo and Washington to win. And the juice is totally out of whack to just go with a winner. The Bills are minus 218 on the money line, and Washington is minus 250 on the money line. So that's a little ridiculous. And so if we're going to do that, then we should obviously look at it dramatically differently. So if you are wondering for the payout, for me, it's kind of funny since I only bet $5. I'm going to win. This is kind of funny. I'm going to win about 40 cents, I think, on a $5 bet. Probably kind of dumb. You know what? That's going to end up as one of those things that I don't do, but I have it listed on my chart because I'm still picking it. That it's going to happen. So we're going to take Buffalo and Washington on a parlay on the money line. You know what? Let's do this to be a little more fair because that is absolutely ridiculous. What is if I add to it? This is when I get into trouble, isn't it? Every time I start adding stuff. But I think Seattle is going to win on the money line, and I'm getting plus 114 on that money line. So if we add 114, let's see what we got. Oh, okay. Now we jump up to $16. There you go. So we'll parlay all three. 3-leg parlay, something I've never even talked to you about. And we're taking the Mariners, the Commanders, and the Bills. So my record, I only get one. I got to get them all right to get one win. But I turned my $5 into $16, which if I'm at 100 Mile Brewing Company, that's 2 beers. That's 2 A Mountains. I spent $5 on 2 A Mountains. There you go. Not bad. Sound credits today. I got the Jacoby Brissett and the Jonathan Gannon that I used in the 4-minute offense. No, I don't think I used the Jacoby Brissett. I plan on using some of the Jacoby Brissett tomorrow. I got that from the Cardinals YouTube page. The Dylan Brooks I got from China. That was from the Suns YouTube page. And I got the Kenny Dillingham from the Sun Devil Source, who went there live. And I got Coach Brennan from the UofA YouTube page. And please support them, or please go to them if you're a fan of one of those teams. Watch it a little bit. That way you can say, hey, I'm only here because I listen to Doug. And if you go to the Sun Devil Source one, oh my gosh, please rip anybody that thinks Kenny Dillingham's a bad coach. I mean, one guy on the comment section said something like, this is worse than Herm Edwards. Like, I'm sorry, sir. I need to pray for you. I don't need to say something that would make my wife upset. I need to pray for you. Because, you know what? I need to support you. It's really special. You've been able to go through life without the burden of intelligence. And that's got to be a great way to live. And so congratulations on that you've come this far. I could keep going. That does it for today's version of Doug Franz Unplugged. Presented by Whirlwind Golf Club at Wild Horse Pass. Coming up at the end of the month, we're going to pull for 2 Cardinals tickets if you're a Whirlwind Plus member. And coming up on November 2nd, they got a free 9-hole 2-person scramble. We're also sponsored by Bell's Nashville Kitchen, Santan Ford, 202 in Val Vista. I am Santan Ford. Parker & Sons Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, and Electrical. Burrito Express, 100 Mile Brewing Company trophy. That shouldn't count out, but I'm counting it anyway. That was the 4th leg of the parlay.
Doug, thank you so much. My best to your listeners, and keep up the work on Doug Franz Unplugged.